Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us for today's episode of Recruit Military Live, where we will be discussing the art of networking at veteran job fairs and strategies to maximize the value of these events. As a reminder, please feel free to drop any relevant questions or comments you may have during today's episode, or just let us know where you're tuning in from. We love to hear from you. As always, my name is Gabby Petticrew, and I'm joined today by my wonderful co-host, Raul Torres. How's it going, Raul?
Hey, Gabby, is going well. How are you doing?
Fantastic. It's finally feeling like somewhat fall wintry weather over here in the Phoenix, Arizona area, whereas we were still having 90-degree weather, like I swear a week ago. So I'm loving the cool weather finally. How about you?
Yeah, no, in Dallas, hey, the leaves are changing colors on the trees. It's not always 97 outside, so that's good.
And humid, yeah.
And humid, right?
Yep.
But hey, today I'm very excited about our guests. Our first guest is a senior talent acquisition program manager of military hiring with CVS. She brings over a decade of experience leading talent acquisition initiatives with focus on veteran and military community recruiting strategies. Throughout her career, she's helped Fortune 100 companies attract, hire, and retain top talent, driven by a passion for creating inclusive candidate experiences and workplace cultures. With both current and former military service in her family, she's dedicated to creating meaningful career opportunities for the military community. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in giving a warm welcome to Sarah McMullen. Sarah, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us. And also joining us today is the manager of the Military Connected Community Team, also at CVS Health. He retired from the U.S. Army in 2018 and began his civilian career through CVS Health's store manager in training program. After several years in store leadership, he transitioned into a corporate role where he now helps lead the company's Skill Bridge program, creating meaningful pathways for service members as they transition to civilian careers. Through his work, he continues his commitment to serving the military community, finding purpose in helping others stay connected to the mission and values that define our nation's servicemen and women. Please join us in welcoming Rafael Lopez. Good morning, Raf. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for the invite, all. Definitely appreciate it. And hopefully we can help you guys navigate this tricky thing at times.
Absolutely. No, we're extremely excited to have you guys on, especially as a very valued client and for all you do for the military community. And we're excited to get the perspective from, one of the top employers out there, CVS Health. So thank you so much for joining us today. So to roll right in it, veteran job fairs, right? Nothing new to you guys. You understand really the importance, the relevance, and the benefits of hiring from within the military community. And one of those strategies is through veteran job fairs. And I know it can kind of seem overwhelming from the veteran's perspective when it comes to switching that switch from being in uniform to then now going into a job fair surrounded by civilians and civilian employers. So what would you first suggest before they even step foot into that job fair? What would you suggest before that step?
So it's not much difference than what you're currently doing in the military, right? Before you do any kind of a mission, you do recon. So same kind of thing, right? You want to do your homework first. I usually say there's three types of people who go to a job fair. You got I'm just going to wing it people. So you're just kind of going into the job fair, seeing what's there, hoping that you land a job. Percentage of success, pretty slim there. So then I'd say your next level is kind of, you have that basic understanding. You know who's going to be there. You kind of know, what job areas that there are, and you're going to kind of tailor that networking resume towards that specific career field. Much better opportunity at success there, but really your best way is, going in knowing exactly what you're going after. So I'm going to this job fair. I know this company's here. I know that this job opening is there. I'm going to do the research for, look at those keywords in that job description, make sure my resume is tailored towards that. And I'm going to go there like I'm going there for an interview to get hired for a job. So to me, that's the biggest thing on the homework part. The other thing, I'm sure you've heard through CAP and you've heard from 1,000 people, when you're doing your resume, avoid that military jargon on a piece of paper. That's simple. I'm sitting there, I'm rereading it, I'm saying, okay, that's jargon, let me get rid of that. But the second that you walk up there and they ask you a question and you're like, well, my soldiers and when I and this, and then those acronyms come out because you don't have the time to look at it on a piece of paper. So think about the kind of questions that you might be asked by a potential employer and start thinking through what those answers would be in civilian speak versus military speak. A lot of times when I talk to people, whether it's doing training with them for mock interviews or anything else, the resume looks great. I say, tell me a little bit about yourself. And then every acronym comes out. And I'm like, well, so, just work through that, right along with that elevator pitch. Leads right into that elevator pitch. A lot of times when I'm working with people and I say, tell me a little bit about yourself, it sounds like I'm at a promotion board. I hear, I have a wife and 3 kids, and you want to highlight what you're going to bring to that company. Look at that company's values, what their purpose is, that mission statement, and then start gearing your, tell me a little bit about yourself, about, hey, why you should hire me because I'm going to bring X, Y, and Z to your company.
Absolutely. And I know that that's something that may be difficult for a lot of our veterans or, currently transitioning service members is it's always the mission first, right? Where it's never I, me, it's always we. So unless you've practiced it, being asked, hey, tell me a bit about yourself. It's not something that may, instinctively roll off the tongue. So you're absolutely right, Raf. Practicing that, rehearsing it is definitely a game changer. And what would you say? Oh, go ahead, Sarah. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to add on to a couple of things that Raf had said. In terms of preparation, I would say almost prepare and put yourself in the mindset that this is your interview. And coming at that from the purpose of when you prepare for an interview, when you know that you have an interview scheduled, you're going in with that mindset of, I've done my research. I want to stand out amongst the crowd, amongst the talent pool. I want to be seen as somebody who did their research ahead of time, and I could be a good fit for the organization. There is really no difference between that impression that you want to make in an interview or a phone screen, and then that very first impression that you're making at the job fair. Those who show up to the job fair with some kind of elevator pitch showing that they did their research about the organization, they can come in and say, I'm very interested. Here's what I'm interested in. Here's why I'm interested in this particular career field or role. And here's how it aligns to my skill sets. I can almost say with certainty for any organization, that is going to stand out to the recruiter that you are talking to. That is going to stand out as somebody who came well prepared, that had done their research, and that also demonstrates some of those skills that could be looked for within that potential job that you're interested in or career field as well. The other piece that I'll add on to what Raf had said is the consistency in the information that you are presenting. So between the elevator pitch and the brand, the personal brand, the professional brand that you are displaying through that elevator pitch, and then what's showing on your resume within the professional summary or overall for what's showing as full picture from the resume that we are reading as the recruiters or talent acquisition team, that should be consistent. It shouldn't feel like it's 2 different people between who we just spoke to at the booth at the hiring fair and then what we're reading on the resume. And then I'll take it a step further and say your LinkedIn profile. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, it is okay, but I would highly encourage you to look into having one. LinkedIn is probably one of the top tools that any talent acquisition team is turning to connect with talent, to find talent, to reach out to talent. So having a LinkedIn profile is very advantageous. Having a LinkedIn profile that mirrors the experience on your resume is necessary. Again, you don't want to look like 2 different people from your resume to your LinkedIn profile, to where the listed experience on your LinkedIn profile is completely different or maybe incomplete compared to your resume, especially if you are listing your LinkedIn profile at the top of your resume. It's essentially giving a signal to that recruiter, hey, go ahead, look at my LinkedIn profile. Maybe there's something else that you might see from that. So if the recruiter goes ahead and clicks on that LinkedIn profile and it's completely different, it might cause confusion. It might cause some questions. It's not presenting that consistent, strong, professional brand that you're really trying to get across. So I just wanted to add that on as well in terms of preparation that you can do prior to showing up to the event.
I like how you phrase that. I was going to say, I like how you phrase that, Sarah. It is your interview, right? First impressions do matter. You show up, and I can speak firsthand, being at the job fairs, speaking with recruiters and them being impressed by the quality, candidates and job seekers that come in. First of all, they're impressed because there's a large amount of candidates that come readily prepared, with everything you and Raf mentioned. So it is important if you show up. I'm not going to go ahead and say you can't show up day of and can't be successful because you didn't do all of the homework. But for sure, first impressions matter, and the more prepared you are, the better impression you leave on those recruiters that day. So
1000%. And so, okay, so let's say that these candidates have done their research, have looked at the employers that are going to be there, have visited their websites to learn more about their mission and any positions that may be available, have perfected that resume and removed all of that military jargon, all the good stuff, updated that LinkedIn profile. Okay, and now they're ready. Boots are shined, tie is straight. They're entering that job fair. Boots are now on the ground. What do you got for them now? Now, how do they attack this job fair to be most successful?
Yeah, well, Gabby, I'll go with the first thing that you just said, is quite literally make sure that you are dressing for the job that you want. First impressions, again, matter. It is that holistic picture that we are getting. Doesn't necessarily mean that you need a full suit for every event that you are going to. Gauge what the environment of the event is going to be, but it never hurts to dress professionally. And if that is the attire that you are most comfortable in and want to provide that professional look, there's nothing wrong with that. We would rather see somebody professionally dressed and prepared than not. That certainly adds to the first impression that any recruiter is probably going to have of you. Another thing, and Raf started to mention this as well, is really take the opportunity to talk to everybody. There's probably an initial perception that you have of each company that's at that event, thinking that this company probably only has this type of job or hiring in this certain career area. For CVS Health, we are hiring in all career areas and fields, whether it is, of course, retail, pharmacy, but also clinical, digital, technology, corporate functions, shared services, opportunities for students as well. There's really no shortage of opportunities across our organization. But not everybody may think about that. So take the time, and I think this goes into the preparation. If you do some of that research ahead of time, it might give you a longer list of companies on your target list that you know you're going to want to talk to. And then when you approach the booth, you can ask more questions. Hey, I didn't know that you were hiring for these types of roles. Can you tell me more about that? What is a career in this area like within your organization specifically? So you can still ask general questions. You don't have to show up to the booth being a subject matter expert on everything having to do with the organization. We're there to help answer questions, but you're asking something a little bit more targeted, showing that you did some of the research and then have a follow-up question from there. Another thing that we wanted to mention is don't jump into the conversation with just a, good afternoon, are you hiring? We do tend to get that sometimes.
Why we're here.
It's a natural thing to happen. It's a natural sentence to want to come out of you just right out the gate to say that as an icebreaker, because that's ultimately probably what you're most curious about, and that's okay. But take the time. This goes along with your first impression, and it goes with building relationships and networking. Think about it from that standpoint. If you approach this as a networking opportunity, if you're introducing yourself to somebody for the first time, you wouldn't skip everything else in terms of, hi, my name is, here's what my background is. To Raf's point, something tactful around that, not just here's everything about me personally, but professionally as well. And then you can dive into some of those other questions on the back end. Are you hiring for? My background is in this. I might have seen this on your career site. So again, showing that you did some of that research, you made the effort, and then you have a more specific question from there. The more specific that you can be in terms of what you're looking for, the more that our team can help you on site. The more that we can guide you in the right direction if we understand what your interests are as well. And I wanted to pass it off to Raf for a couple other thoughts and points.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, so one thing is be engaging while you're there. A lot of times I'm at career fairs and we've got what I call the lurkers, the person that stands about 3 steps back from the booth and just kind of looking, waiting for somebody to say, hey, how can I help you? Go up and, as Sarah said, introduce yourself. And of course, you don't have to be a subject matter expert on the company, but you should be a subject matter expert on yourself. You might be talking to somebody, hey, I'm really interested in this role. As you're talking to them, they might say, I think you're a better fit for this. Be able to pivot and say, well, yeah, because I've done X, Y, and Z in the military. There's so many things that you do in the military that's your job that you forget of how much that actually is on the outside. So definitely be ready for that. And then during those conversations, be open to constructive criticism or feedback when you're talking to individuals, because we're just trying to help you out.
Yeah.
1000%.
One last point that I'll add to, I think we had talked about this prior to the live session here today. But be prepared. Someone may absolutely say, thank you for your service. Be prepared to hear that in case it catches you off guard. You are certainly welcome to acknowledge it and then pivot the conversation back to what you want to talk about in terms of your professional goals and skills. But that is something that we've heard from job seekers before of, hey, I know that could be said to me. It is a veteran hiring fair after all, but still it caught me off guard. I know for us, it is something that our talent acquisition team will likely say to anyone who shares their veteran status with us, and possibly even as well, military spouse status as well. We certainly appreciate the service of our military spouses, family members, and supporting our service members and of our veterans. So I know for our team, it's very common to say. So just want to be upfront that you certainly may hear that from organizations, and just be prepared to hear that, accept it, and then you can certainly pivot the conversation back.
Absolutely. And I know you guys mentioned this as well. A few points that I loved and are always great reminders for our military audience is, you say you registered at RecruitMilitary.com for tomorrow's Dallas event, right? You see the list of employers, 70 plus employers, but you're like, I want to talk to CVS Health and maybe 2 other people. But you get there, you talk to them, and then you leave within 15 minutes. You would be doing yourself the most outrageous disadvantage by doing that, because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what organizations have what positions open that may be perfect for you, or you kind of pigeonholed a certain company to just a certain field, and that's all they want, right? So you guys really hit that nail right on the head, where don't just go expecting not to talk to an organization because you think they only are looking for one specific position. That is, I can never tell that advice enough. How about you, Rav or Raul?
Yeah, Gabby.
I said both of you. I'm so sorry.
It's close. Yeah, go ahead.
CVS Health was never on my mind when I was transitioning out of the military. I literally found a flyer on the floor while out processing for skill bridge programs at CVS Health. So
Wow.
there you go.
Divine
Remember that.
intervention right there.
It's crazy how that works. And I just wanted to add one thing I like to tell the job seekers is, hey, maybe you do have like a list of 2 or 3 companies that you're shooting after that you think you're there for, but maybe start with companies as a way to warm up your elevator pitch before you get to CVS Health, right? Make sure you go through the line before you get to that company that you want to talk to, so that way you make sure your voice is clear, your throat's clear, your points are clear, and just as a little warm up. So that's just a little tip that I like to give the job seekers as they make their way through.
Yeah, absolutely. Get some practice out before you hit the big guns, your top 3. And one other thing you guys kind of mentioned, don't just come in, hi, my name is so-and-so, are you hiring, right off the bat? One thing for me, it's kind of impossible for me not to show my personality in every conversation, whether it's with friends or whether it's in a professional environment. I'm going to be me. And I feel like that's what employers want to see. They're going to speak to hundreds of people. Some may, half of those may be in uniform, or if the career fair is on a military base, a majority of them may be in uniform. So what is going to set you apart from all the other candidates that they've spoken to? Don't be afraid. I know it can kind of be difficult sometimes to break out of that kind of military exterior and let that personality shine, but don't be afraid to be yourself and just have a conversation, kind of take that pressure off, because it can be a little bit nerve-wracking to enter, especially if it's your first job fair, you're transitioning soon, all these changes are happening. Don't be afraid to kind of let that personality shine. And last but not least, so you've gone through the job fair, maybe you've had some great conversations, gotten some points of contact, have some follow-up to do. Now, how do you go about that?
Yeah, so Gabby, I think probably one of the most important things is, well, I'll say one way to help get to the end point quicker is when you do that follow-up, make sure you kind of recap that conversation that you had. I'll go to events and then I'll get an email, hey, we met at this event. Great. Who are you? What was our conversation? What are you interested in? Because we're going to interact with a lot of people during that time. So, hey, met you at the career fair. We spoke about XYZ position, just, looking forward to next steps. Part of those next steps is, where are those next steps going to take place? You should have that conversation with that person that you're talking to. Would you like me to connect with you on LinkedIn? Would you like me to send you an email? Whatever the case may be. And you're going to get different responses. Me personally, I don't do a lot on LinkedIn. I do more one-on-one via emails, but a lot of other people, like Sarah mentioned, they're more on the LinkedIn side. So make sure you find out how that follow-on conversation is going to go. So that way, you can at least connect with them to begin with. That's probably the most important part. Another thing is, if we give you some kind of feedback about some areas of opportunity, make sure you follow up on that. Because, look, if we're there because we want to help. Any company that's there, it's there because they want to help. And sometimes like I mentioned earlier, you're going to hear some feedback that you might not necessarily agree with. What do you mean? No, I do have experience in that. Well, if your resume isn't written that way for me to understand that you have experience in that, a civilian with no military experience is definitely not going to have any idea that matches with that. So take that feedback, take those action steps when you go to do that follow through. So that way, you're getting the most out of it. We can help you the best way that we can, because I can't emphasize it enough. There's going to be times that it feels like we don't want to help you, and we're actually trying to help you.
Yeah. I'll add on to that and say, overall, continue to monitor whatever communication method you have listed on your resume, primarily your email address. So whatever email address you have listed on your resume, one, ensure that is an email address that you are checking regularly and that you have full access to. There are certainly times when we reach out and it's a no longer valid email address, or someone used their military email address and can't access that anymore, and did an update to a civilian one. So please make sure you are using an email address that you can access at any time. For most hiring fairs, I know for those through RecruitMilitary, employers do have the opportunity to take a look at registrants overall for the event, not just those that we chatted with, but those who may have registered for the event and we didn't have the opportunity to chat with. And so from that, as Raf said, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. So sometimes if an employer is quiet, it doesn't necessarily mean they aren't doing something. If anything, it means that we are doing a lot of work behind the scenes to try to either determine who to reach out to or to send some outreach strategically to you and to the right candidates where there might be an opportunity. So make sure to continue to monitor your email. You might receive outreach from an organization that you didn't chat with, but they found your resume. They saw potential in you. They saw an opportunity where you might be a fit, and are reaching out to you for a reason. And for a reason where they want to engage. So if you are getting that outreach, I would say that's a good green light to re-engage back and know that that employer was interested in you and for some reason, it might have a career opportunity as well for you to consider.
Absolutely. And oh yeah, go ahead, Raf.
Yeah, just on that note, it just popped in my head.
I love the light bulb moments.
Email addresses, please. You should already have a professional email address to put on your resumes, not something crazy. But remember, when you register for these events and put an email address, make sure you're putting that same type of a professional email address, because that's what we see when we get those event recaps. Whatever email you registered with, that's what we're going to see. So just professional email addresses. I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely. No, amazing tidbits of information and words of advice. Thank you, Raf and Sarah, so much for joining us today. As we close up, are there any final words? I know there's been just so many gold nuggets of wisdom and advice that we've gotten today, but is there any final words that you have for our military audience when it comes to preparing for, going through, and following up with these veteran job fairs?
Yeah, I'll start off. First thing, again, thank you for your service. If you're a military spouse, thank you for all the support while your service members are in or were in service. Huge important step there. But look, finding a job is a full-time job. There's a lot of work behind it, and it can be discouraging. I tell people there's only 2 times that I was nervous when I was in the military. First was my first deployment to Iraq, and the next was when I was getting ready to transition out of the military. So I get it. It's very stressful. It can be a scary time, but you got this. Just take in all the knowledge that you can and network.
Absolutely.
And I'll say, I just want to echo the words of encouragement, but also appreciation. So thank you, Gabby and Raul and the RecruitMilitary team, for the opportunity to share this. We truly appreciate it. We very much care about the hiring fairs that we're going to, the opportunities that we have to connect with all of you from the military community who are interested in finding your next career, possibly with CVS Health, and want to help you show up in the best way possible. To show your skills and show the background and experience that you can bring to an organization. So anything that we can do to help, we truly, again, appreciate this opportunity and your time today, appreciate your service, and want to thank you for that. And if I had to pinpoint one focus area out of everything we talked about here today, I would personally choose the prep. The prep ahead of time really sets you up for greater success through all of those other steps. Having the resume tailored, having the LinkedIn profile, if you have one, aligned, preparing your elevator pitch, preparing for this in the same way that you would for anything else professionally. That's the first impression. That first impression is going to set the stage for the conversation you have. That is going to set the stage for the next steps that you're given at the end of the conversation to possibly follow. So I just highly encourage you to take a couple extra minutes out of your day and really invest in that preparation.
Absolutely. Could not agree more.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I appreciate you guys coming on. That was really detailed information. I feel like, at least looking at the comments, like people appreciated the detailed responses on how to just be successful. I do see a comment on there that says, hey, do you often go to military installations for job fairs? Yes, we absolutely do. In fact, I'm going to plug ours coming up tomorrow. We are on Eglin Air Force Base. So if you're in Florida, in that area, I think that's Destin. Come on out, join us. And then we're also at Dallas. So at the AT&T Stadium tomorrow from 11 to 3. I'll be there, show up, tell me you saw us on LinkedIn Live, and we'll be ready for you.
Absolutely. And again, Sarah, I couldn't agree more. Doing that preparation beforehand can be a game changer from, being less prepared and not having that extra edge above the competition versus finding, being on the fast track to your now dream career with CVS Health, like Raf. So thank you two again so much for joining us today and for your continued support to the military community. It makes a huge difference and it is absolutely appreciated. So thank you guys again for joining us today on this episode of Recruit Military Live, and we will see you all again next time.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.